We have 20 of the biggest flagship phones released in 2016 and 2017. Let's see how they stack up in AnTuTu. So here in the bottom left corner, we have the HTC 10, the HTC U11, the HTC U11, the Google Pixel XL, the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge, the Galaxy Note 7, the Galaxy S8 Plus. Over here we have the Sony Xperia Performance, the Xperia XZ, the Xperia XES, the Xperia XZ Premium, the iPhone SE, the iPhone 7 Plus, the Huawei P10 Plus. Up in the top left corner there we have the LG V5, the LG V20, the LG V6, the OnePlus 3, the OnePlus 3T, and OnePlus 5. And here we go, guys. So running the first AnTuTu benchmark, which tests out the graphical performance. Now noticing really nice vibrant colors here, great level of detail as well. Now you notice that some of the phones like the OnePlus 3, OnePlus 3T, those mostly white, background, foreground, objects on screen are mostly white. Now this is an AnTuTu glitch, but does not actually affect the scores. So I am noticing some slowdown here for some of the older phones like the iPhone SE, for example. Some lag there, some lag with the Snapdragon 820 phones like the HTC 10. And some pop-ins as well. But yeah, guys, the Snapdragon 835 phones like the Sony Xperia Premium running this really well. Alright, so on to the second test now. We have another graphical test. We have the Garden. And this one appears to be running a bit smoother than the first test. But still, guys, still some lag for some of the older phones like the SE. Now, if you use an older, or rather, if you use a mid-range phone or an older flagship phone, there's a lot of lag on this test. It's going to be about 5 to 10 frames per second. But all these running it pretty nicely. And again, very nice color and detail here as well. Alright guys, so let's finish up the second test. About 50% through now, so let's go over the specs for these phones. So the iPhone SE, one of the oldest phones here, also the smallest. And unsurprisingly has the least amount of RAM at 2 GB. Now we have a few phones at 3 GB, including the Xperia Performance, the Xperia XZ, and the iPhone 7 Plus. Now there's a bunch of phones at 4 GB, including all the Galaxy phones, the Xperia XES, XZ Premium, HTC 10, HTC U11, and the Pixel XL. And also the 3 LG phones, all 4 GB of RAM. And then at 6 GB of RAM, we have the HTC U11, the Huawei P10 Plus, the OnePlus 3, and the OnePlus 3T. And then the OnePlus 5 has a whopping 8 GB of RAM there in the top right corner. Now in terms of processors, so the iPhone SE has the A9 chipset, the iPhone 7 Plus has the A10 chipset, and all the Androids aside from the Huawei P10 Plus have the Snapdragon processor. The Huawei has the custom Huawei chipset 960. Now most of Snapdragon's already older Snapdragon 820, so that includes HTC 10, Galaxy 7 Edge, Note 7, Xperia Performance, XZ, XES, and then the LG G5, the LG V20, and the OnePlus 3. Now the later Snapdragon 821 belongs to the HTC U11, the Google Pixel XL, the LG 6, and the OnePlus 3T. And then the latest Snapdragon 835, you have the HTC U11, the Galaxy S8 Plus, the Xperia XZ Premium, and the OnePlus 5. Alright guys, so about 70% through now. So once these phones reach about, I'd say about 95%, I'm going to start flipping them over, just to build up the suspense a bit, and then we'll go over the results after that. So just some predictions here. I think the iPhone SE will come in last place. Now in terms of first place, I think there's probably about half a dozen phones that could come in first place. As you guys see, it's going to flip some phones over now. So that includes the iPhone 7 Plus, which I just flipped over, the Xperia XZ Premium, the Galaxy S8 Plus, the HTC U11, the OnePlus 5, all really strong candidates here. Now just because the phones are finished does not mean they have a higher score, but still good sign nonetheless. And OnePlus 5, first Android phone to finish. 3T pretty quick as well. U11 as well, the 3. XE Premium. And I'm going to blank out the Huawei score there so you guys can't see it. Alright guys, we're just about done here. Let's check out the results. Alright guys, so now on to the final results. So in last place we have the iPhone SE score of 122,000. Now not surprising, this is one of the oldest phones, also one of the least expensive, and has an A9 chipset and 2GB of RAM. Now in 19th place we have the Galaxy Note 7 score of 145,000. Snapdragon 820 and 4GB of RAM on this one. Now guys, of course this phone not getting new updates. Fortunately we did make it through the test without any problems. Now in 18th place we have the Google Pixel XL 145,000. Now this is a bit surprising because this is a Snapdragon 821 and 4GB of RAM, although they do downclock the processor. In 17th place we have the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge 148,000, Snapdragon 820 and 4GB of RAM. Now in 16th place we have the Sony Xperia Performance score of 148,000, Snapdragon 820 and 3GB of RAM. In 15th place we have the LG G5 score of 148,755. This one also Snapdragon 820 and 4GB of RAM. In 14th place we have the HC10 149,000. Also Snapdragon 820 and 4GB of RAM on this one. In 13th place we have the LG V20 149,000. And this one also Snapdragon 820 and 4GB of RAM. Now in 12th place we have the Sony Xperia XE score of 150,000, Snapdragon 820 and 3GB of RAM. Next up we have the HTC U Ultra score of 150,698, Snapdragon 821 and 4GB of RAM. Now this is a bit low score for a phone with the Snapdragon 821, but still does outperform the Pixel. In 10th place we have another 2017 phone. We have the Huawei P10 Plus 151,000. Now if this phone has a custom Huawei chipset 960 and 6GB of RAM. Now in 9th place we have the OnePlus 3 152,000. So this has a Snapdragon 820 and 6GB of RAM. Now in 8th place we have the Sony Xperia XES 153,000. Now this has a Snapdragon 820 and 4GB of RAM. In 7th place we have the LG G6 156,935. Now this has a Snapdragon 821 and 4GB of RAM. Next up we have the OnePlus 3T 164,023. Very impressive score here, Snapdragon 821 and 6GB of RAM on this one. So entering the top 5, and in 5th place we have the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus 172,000. So this has a Snapdragon 835 and 4GB of RAM. Now in 4th place we have the iPhone 7 Plus 179,000, very close to 180,000. Now guys, the score is a bit lower than the last when I ran this. I did upgrade to iOS 11. So did some research and turns out iOS 11 is a little bit lower in AnTuTu benchmark scores than iOS 10 was. But nonetheless still an amazing score here, especially for a phone from last year. A9 chipset and 3GB of RAM. On to the top 3, and in 3rd place you have the Sony Xperia XE Premium breaking the 180,000 mark. So Snapdragon 835 and 4GB of RAM on this one. In 2nd place we have the OnePlus 5 181,660. So this phone is a Snapdragon 835 and either 6 or 8GB of RAM. And I do have the 8GB model. And in 1st place we have the HTC U11 182,436. So incredible score here, and this has a Snapdragon 835 and either 4 or 6GB of RAM. And I do have the 6GB model of this one. Now keep in mind guys, scores can and will vary, so let me know in the comment section below what score you got on your phone. Now if you like this video, please go ahead and subscribe for more in the future. I do have more videos planned for all the phones you see here. And thanks again for watching. Think that was good? Let me redo it one more time. Okay? Now keep in mind guys, scores will vary, so let me know in the comment section below what you get on your phone. Now if you like this video, please Let me just watch. I think it was